Hi, I'm Marius from MWest Photography here in Cape Town, South Africa. And in this video, we're going to have a look at the brand new Canon Powershot SX60HS. Now, bear with me, I do have a bit of a cold, so my voice doesn't sound that great. So I'm going to try and edit out all those coughs and sniffles. But we are not just going to review the SX60, because we're going to look at the zooming. What does it look like? We're going to look at the picture quality. We are going to look at video, all the advances they've put into the video, as well as adding in an external mic. We're also going to put a mic on here. We're going to look at the sound difference between the built-in mic and external mic to show you exactly what this camera can do. But then also, I've got here the SX50HS. So now we can compare the SX60 and the 50 to see exactly what has changed. What have they improved? What should they rather have left where it was, because it was already a winning recipe? So there are a lot of people who still own the older models like the SX40, the SX50, who are thinking of upgrading. So by doing the comparison, they can decide, is it really a worth it upgrade? Because the camera just came out. A lot of people have basically in the last few months bought the SX50. So I'm going to compare the two to see what the differences are. Then there are a lot of people starting out with photography who are looking at buying a camera like this. So usually in my videos, if you've never seen any of my videos, I've also got a show on YouTube called Digital Photography Today, or just short DPT, where I teach people how to become the masters of their camera. So we take the bridge camera, and I've already got 2 seasons of that on YouTube, and I took the SX50HS, and the episodes have done really, really well. I have helped a ton of people learn how to take awesome pictures with a bridge camera like this. So here's a link to the first episode that's called Program the Better Auto, because on your camera you've got that green auto, and if you just turn it, on this one it's just 2 turns, you go to Program. On the SX50 it's just 1 turn, you go to the P on the camera. Now Program is a much better auto, so I show you in that episode exactly why. You can do so much more in that mode, but the camera is still in auto and already take a lot better pictures. So in this series I'm going to teach you all about shutter speeds and apertures and manual and flash, also Photoshop, exposure compensation, white balance, bracketing, tons of stuff all in those episodes. There's also panoramas, look at macro, how to shoot macro with this, as well as shoot high-speed video where you can slow the action down to see exactly what goes on. There will be some samples in this review as well on this camera on how to shoot high-speed video. But I'm going to add in all those links to all those different videos. So if I'm talking about ISO on this camera, I'm going to give you the link to the ISO video so that you can learn what ISO is, so that when you actually go buy the camera, you know what's going on. You're not just going to turn it on auto and keep shooting. You're going to be the master of the camera. And eventually, if you practice. Okay, so I've also got a Facebook group, also called Digital Photography Today, and already over 200 people there. Most of them owning the SX50. There's a bunch of people there owning the SX60 as well. So you can go look at that, just join the group. Tons of people sharing their pictures from their bridge cameras. There are also people shooting some SLR cameras, and also show people with 2 cameras on the show. I use the SX50 and also a Nikon D3100 to show people how to take better pictures with their camera. So go have a look and learn more about photography. So the first thing that we are going to look at before we actually start with all the settings and the image quality and everything is the look and feel of the camera. Now, if you put them side by side, the SX60 is a little bit larger than the SX50, which is a very good thing because I have got larger hands. I do not have teeny tiny hands. So if I'm holding the camera like this, I can really feel it. I'm gripping it really nicely. With the SX50, you'll notice this is much more square here on the edges, if you look at the pictures now. So if I'm holding it, it's always like one finger wants to come off my pinky finger in the bottom. It's always feeling like the camera's going to fall out of my hands. But with the SX60, as you can see, I can grip it like an SLR camera. So it fits really nice. They've also taken the button here at the top where you can set your shutter speeds and aperture and everything. They put it at the top, the same like an SLR camera. That's not the SX60. On the SX50, they've got it here at the back, which is not bad, but you turn it there. Just look how uncomfortable my hand is because I need to shoot here. I'm having trouble holding the camera, and I still need to set it here at the back as well. So I really like the new body of the SX60. And you'll also, if you pick it up, it's a little bit heavier, and it also feels more solid. They've got a much better grip here at the back. They put a bigger screen on here, much more high resolution screen. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later as well. So if I just look at the different, just the look and feel of this camera, the SX60 for me wins hands down. If you're maybe a female with tinier hands, this might be a little bit larger for you, but not really that much. It's just making it easier for me to hold onto the camera. The buttons here at the back, not that happy with them. The older ones, you could feel where you are on the buttons if you're working in the dark. On this camera, especially if I'm holding it this way around with the screen flipped and I'm trying to get the settings here while I'm working on it, it's hard for me to press those buttons because they're a bit difficult when you've got larger fingers. But it's nitpicking on that section, but I really actually preferred the older button, not the turning wheel, but the other buttons they had here on the back. It was actually easier to press even in the dark. So, but these buttons do feel more solid, I must say. The SX50 feels a little bit more flimsy when it comes to the buttons. They were just easier to press, but these buttons feel a lot more solid. Okay, that's just a quick look at the look and feel. So now we're going to go close up on the SX60. I'm going to show you the camera, we're going to look at the features, and I'll bring in pictures of the SX50 to show you sometimes how it has changed. So you can get a better idea if you're upgrading from the older camera or if you just want to know what they did with the camera. When we look at the front of the Powershot SX60HS, you will notice this nice curved grip right here. Now this is a big improvement over the SX50 because it just feels so much better when holding the SX60 because I've got larger hands. Then we look at the front of the lens. So if I just get my focus here on the front of the lens, you'll see the Canon zoom lens 65 times. Now that 65 is 65 times optical, which is really awesome. So what does 65 times optical look like? Look at this video sample I recorded to see how far I can zoom on the SX60HS. Awesome, right? So how does that compare to the SX50HS, which has a 50 times optical zoom? Not really that much. Look at them both side by side when I'm zooming. If you look at these sample images, you will notice the SX60 is a little wider at first, but the improvement is not that huge when you zoom in all the way. Now I do enjoy having the 21mm wide compared to the 24mm wide on the SX50HS. It's always nice if you're in a very cramped spot to get that little bit extra on the wide side to get everything in. Then next to the 65 times, you will see an IS, which stands for Image Stabilizer. Now when you use the zoom and you zoom very far into your shot, your image stabilizer is basically your best buddy in the world. Then at the bottom of the lens, we have more numbers, which I'm not going to explain now, because all that will make sense when you start to watch digital photography today. When we look at the side of the camera, you'll see we've got a flap right here. So if I open this flap up, we've got 3 ports we can use. Now the first one is for cable release. So if I take this cable release and I just plug it in here, you'll notice I have got a button here on the cable release that I can press. Now this is the same as this shutter button right here. But if I'm pressing this, you'll notice, can you see the camera is moving a little? Now when you're doing long exposures, you do not want to touch the camera because that will bring in image shake to your shots. So then you use a cable release like this. They're really not expensive, and then you can press the button here. You'll notice when I'm pressing it here, I am not moving the camera. So this is really very nice. Okay, I'm going to take this out. Then the next port we've got there is your AV out. So if you've got a standard definition TV, you can use the AV cable for that. You'll notice it says there AV out, and it's also a port for you to plug in with a USB your camera to your computer to download your pictures, but I prefer just to use a card reader and just take the card out. It's for me, I don't like to carry that cable with me all over the place, so in my camera bag I just have a little USB card reader. Then we also have a third port at the bottom, which is very nice. It's a HDMI out. Now the only thing you need to keep in mind if you want to connect your camera with your TV, This does not take a normal HDMI. So if you look there, it's a bit smaller than your normal HDMI, and here's the cable you're going to need. So if I'm holding it like this, you should see here, this is the small one, this is the mini, and this is the normal size. So this fits into the camera like that, and this one goes into your TV. So just keep in mind you're going to have to buy the correct cable if you want to plug the camera into your TV. Then when we look at the lens, you can see here it says 16.1 megapixels. That brings us to a discussion point. The SX50 had only 12.1 megapixels. So that's an extra 4 megapixels they put in there. Now you might think, woohoo, that's awesome. I can print larger images and I should have better quality shots, right? When it comes to megapixels, less is more. I would actually have been more happy if they just kept it 12, because the size of the sensor inside the camera stays the same. So they just add the extra pixels in there, making the overall size of each pixel smaller. That results in overall quality loss. So let me show you. I took this image on both the SX50 and the SX60 camera. Now, this shot I took at ISO 100. If you don't know what ISO is, then watch this video on Digital Photography Today, which explains it all. But in a nutshell, the lower the ISO number, the less noise you will see in your image. And when I take this picture and I view it at 100% in Photoshop next to each other, you will notice the image on the right is much sharper. Now that one was taken with the Powershot SX50HS. Now when I increase the ISO to 3200, now normally you will do that when you're shooting in low light conditions. You increase the ISO, it allows the camera to see more light or to pick up more light, but the end result is more noise. Now when we view this again at 100%, the SX50 is on the right and has got better color, it's sharper and has less noise. Now we need to keep in mind a few things. We are looking at a video on YouTube which affects the image quality. So I have uploaded the images so anyone can download them and look for themselves. And also keep in mind that we are looking at 100%. So if you print them, you won't really notice the quality loss that much when you print the entire image, not zoomed in, when you print the entire image on a jumbo or say an A4 photo print. When you print really large, you may be going to A2, you're most probably going to start using canvas or even A3 canvases maybe, then the quality loss is not really a big deal. If you maybe want to hang your picture on a wall, you maybe print an A3 or an A2 canvas, you won't really see the big difference because canvas has got a texture. So you're not really going to notice. It's actually going to make it look sharper. But the conclusion is that the 4 extra megapixels did not improve on the quality. I would prefer if they just kept it at 12. When we come to the back side of the camera, lots of goodies and surprises here. First, the screen is, as always, fully articulated, so you can open it up and you can flip it around like this. So if you're a vlogger and you want to record some videos, you can see exactly what you are doing by looking at a screen like this. Really very nice. You can also flip it like that, lock it in place. This is how I've got mine most of the time until I store it, and I just flip it around like that and lock it in place. But very, very nice. Now they've also improved on the screen size from 2.8 inches on the SX50 to 3 inches on the SX60. But the big improvement comes in the screen quality. The resolution is much better on the screen than on the SX50. They doubled the amount of screen dots from 461,000 to 922,000. Then above the screen here we've got our EVF, which is the electronic viewfinder, another huge improvement. On the SX50, I did not like to use the EVF because it was always a bit fuzzy. I even tested a few SX50HS cameras and they all varied in the quality of the EVF. Some was better, some just look worse. Now the SX60 has a much higher resolution screen on the EVF, so I will definitely use this more. Then when we start to look at the buttons on the back, we have the preview button right there, and that's the button you press when you want to look at the pictures and the videos that you've taken. Then next to the preview button, you'll notice the grip here has changed compared to the SX50. And I must say the grip on this is much nicer. It's not as pointy as on the SX50, but this just feels really, really nice when you grip the camera like this. Then next to the grip, we've got this button right here that allows you to set your focus point. This is really very important when taking pictures to make sure you're focusing on the correct subject so that the camera doesn't decide and focus maybe on the background when you want to take a picture of a person. Now you can also watch this video on Digital Photography Today where I show you exactly how you set the focus points on this camera. Then above the focus points here we've got our dedicated video record button. Now here Canon really improved a lot on the SX60HS. A problem many people complained about was the noisy motor when they zoom during video recordings. Let's look at this video clip from the SX50HS. Notice the motor noise in the background as well as the slow focusing of the SX50. Now let's look at the same clip on the SX60HS. The noise is gone and the focusing was much faster and smoother. They also improved on the video codec. On the SX50HS they used QuickTime MOV, and on the SX60 they now use MP4 files, which are much better. The frame rate has also been improved from 23 frames per second on the SX50 to 30 frames per second recording at full HD on the SX60, which gives you a very nice smooth video. You can also record at 60 frames per second if you want to. Now I recorded this video on the SX50 of a plasma ball. Now the SX50 had a hard time focusing, so I had to manual focus it just to record the video. This is the result at 23 frames per second. Here's the same plasma ball shot on the SX60 at 30 frames per second. Much smoother, and the autofocus had no problems keeping the focus. Now keep in mind that this YouTube video is exported to 23 frames per second, so it might affect the quality of the recording of the SX60 on the plasma ball. Many people also complained that they don't like the sound quality of the built-in mic on the SX50. Now here's a clip of a running tap with the built-in mic on the SX50. Canon has now included a mic port on the SX60, so we can plug in an external mic as well to improve on the sound quality. As you can see on the SX60, I've now attached my Rode video mic and I've plugged it in to the mic input next to the camera. Now let's look at the clip of the running tap again on the SX60, but only with the built-in mic. And here's the clip again, but this time with the external Rode video mic plugged into the SX60. Notice the cleaner sound. Here's another example. This is recorded on only the SX60. And then again with the Rode video mic. Notice the deeper sound. If you'd like to know more about this mic, then have a look at this video I shot by clicking on the link. You can see that I do have the Rode video mic turned on, and then when I turn the camera on and I go to menu in the bottom, I can also go down here to sound recording, choose function set in the middle, and then it's currently set to auto. So now the camera is deciding the audio levels. I can also turn on the wind filter if I want to, but then I can also select, say, manual. Then I can go to the audio recording level and I can adjust what the volume level must be like when I'm going to do my recording. The biggest improvement with the video is definitely the ability to shoot in manual. Now the problem with the SX50, if I take this camera and I put it, say, in program, the beta auto, or in any of the other modes really, the camera, when you press the record button, if you press the button here to record, the camera will decide what your exposure will be like. So if you've got a very bright light in the background, it will make subjects in the foreground go like a silhouette. And it's going to underexpose those sections because the camera is deciding what it should be. It doesn't allow you to change it. So here I've got the plus minus, the exposure compensation. If you don't know what exposure compensation is, it's really awesome. Go watch the video right here on Digital Photography Today. It's almost like shooting manual without shooting manual. You can adjust a lot by just this button. So if I press this, you'll notice it just highlighted right there, and I can decide, okay, I want to shoot a little darker. You'll notice the video on the screen went a little darker. I can also go to say -2, a lot darker. If I wanted to shoot brighter, I can just go a little brighter again. So it allows me to control the video on the go by just turning that slider, and if I press it again, it takes the little icon away there. And then low bat. Good thing with these cameras, always buy an extra battery. Because of the screen and everything, the battery life isn't that great as of an SLR camera, so invest in a proper second battery. I'm going to stop this video. Now, where the manual features are really amazing, if I turn the dial here, you'll see there's manual video mode. Now I can, while I'm shooting video, if I record now, this is awesome. I can change the shutter speed. So at the top I've got this dial. There I change the shutter speed, and if I want to do the aperture, I just press the button again, the plus minus, and allows me to change the aperture. You'll notice while I'm shooting video, I can now control my exposure on the go. I can also go over to ISO. There we've got our ISO, and I can control my exposure for the video. And you'll notice that when I'm turning this dial, it is making a clicking sound. Now on this mic, the clicking sound is a little bit less because I've got all these little rubbers right here. You'll notice it's called a shock mount. So basically you'll notice the microphone can jump around there, and it allows me, if I do make noises, the noise will be a little bit less, but just turn it very slowly. I'm now really turning it, but you will hear it on the camera body if you're shooting video without an external mic. The external mic just helps a little bit to reduce that excessive noise by the clicking, but being able to do this, it's awesome. It's the same that I do on my SLR camera. It allows me to set my exposure when I'm shooting video. Really enjoy this. A very fun feature on the SX60, and it also works on the SX50, is the ability to shoot high-speed videos. Now here are a few snippets from my dogs chasing a ball. If you don't know how this works, then watch the following video on Digital Photography Today, where I explain how to shoot high-speed video. But it's really simple. You can just go to Function Set, choose here Super Slow Motion Video, and then go to the bottom here and say, okay, 240 frames per second or 120 frames per second. The 120 frames per second look a lot better than the 240 frames per second. But it's really fun to take videos of fast moving subjects and watching it in slow motion, especially when I'm throwing the ball to my dogs. Sometimes they catch it in the weirdest ways and I can look at it later. Okay, when we look at this circle right here with the function set in the middle, Canon really changed a lot here, and not all for the better. Okay, first when we talk about the button, you'll notice the button is very flat with the camera body. So at nighttime, you can't always feel where the buttons are and you press the wrong functions. And then also, if you look at the size of my thumb, I've got pretty large hands, so operating these buttons, not always the easiest. I must say they are very sturdy. They feel stronger than the SX50, but using them was easier on the SX50. The SX60, I will just have to get used to it. Okay, then when we look at the icons, you can see right here, I've got an MF with a little flower. If you press that, it allows me to go to macro mode. Now macro mode allows you to focus really close to do macro photography. and it's really fun to play around with. So if you would like to know more about using macro on a bridge camera like this, you can watch this video that I shot for digital photography today on how to shoot macro on a bridge camera. Then you can also watch this video, which will show you how to take macro pictures on a budget. Okay, then if you press the button again, it will take you to manual focus. I'm going to go now to just normal. Then above this icon, you'll see there, you've got these little blocks that are on top of each other. That's for continuous shooting. So if you press that, you've got single shot. So basically it just takes one image. If you go to continuous, this is really insane. It's fast. So when you focus and you shoot, it sounds like a machine gun, okay? But this is okay if a subject is moving like this. So if the subject in front of the camera is going like that, then it's fine. You can use that to take the shot with to get multiple images. But if you press the button again, it's giving you continuous autofocus while it's shooting. So it keeps focusing. So now you'll notice it is pretty much slower. But what happens now, if something is running towards you, it's going to keep on focusing on that subject to make sure the person or the subject matter you're taking pictures of are sharp. Okay, I'm just going to press that again, take it back. I mostly use single shooting. Your continuous is more for maybe taking birds in flight or for sports. Then you'll use that, but normally it'll just be on single shooting. Right, then we've got this flash icon here. Now with the flash icon, if you open the flash, you can see there's a flash icon. Now if I press the flash button there, I've got a few options. Auto, then the flash decides when it wants to fire. I hate this option because then it always fires when you don't want it to, and then when you really want the flash to go on, it doesn't. So what I do is I put it to flash on. Then I know it's going to fire every time I want the flash to go off, and when I don't want the flash, I just close the flash there at the top. If I want it back on, you can see there no flash. If you open it back up, it's got the flash. You can also go here to slow synchro, which is a very creative mode. I talk about this on the Digital Photography Today show. And then the last one is turn the flash off, which doesn't make sense. The flash doesn't fire, but the flash is open. That's just stupid and pointless. So this is the mode to be on. Then you know it's either firing or it's not firing. Okay, then below that you've got a display option. What this does is when you press this, it will give you now a histogram as well as this icon. It's showing you if your camera is level. Then if you press the display again, it's going to turn off, but then it turns on your EBF so that you can see what the screen saw. So if you're shooting outside, it's very bright, you can't see, then you can use that. If you press it again, it's going to turn on the histogram and also that level on the inside there. If you press it again, it goes back to this view. Now this button was normally here at the bottom, and the flash button was here at the top. So now they've moved the flash button from here to there and the display button to there to make space for this camera icon, which I'm going to explain, which is very cool. But I don't really use display that much. I don't use the flash button that much. Previously the ISO button was right here, and the ISO button made sense. I used it a lot. So now to do ISO, you have to go to function set, and you need to set the function, you need to set the ISO here. So now I can go and I can say set my ISO to, oops, mispress the buttons, like I said, large fingers. Okay, so here I can now set the ISO. You can also do your white balance. This is now for the function. If you press the function, it allows you to set your ISO, your white balance. The My Colors allows you to boost certain colors. There's also bracketing. I talk about bracketing on DPT as well. Your self timer is in here. On the SX50, the self timer icon was here, if I remember correctly. And even that I used more than I used the flash button. So I don't know why they changed those two. These two are not as important for me. So in here you can set all your settings. This is now under function set. You're going to use this quite a lot. And they've really grouped everything nicely. On all the power shots I've seen so far, or this series like the SX40, the 30-20, they've all got a very nice function set where all these functions are nicely summed up. Okay, then you can also go here to menu. If you go here to menu, it's also got here a ton of settings you can customize for the camera. I'm not going to go through them. Most of them will be explained on the DPT show, or if it's not on here, it's on the Facebook group where someone asks a question and we talk about maybe that function on the group. Now it brings us to this very nice looking phone icon, and that's got to do with the Wi-Fi. Okay, when I press this phone icon on the camera, it says search for access points. Now I'm not going to use a router for this. It's going to create a direct access point on the camera, and there is the connection. And it says that at the top it's looking for my Samsung phone. So I'm going to my Wi-Fi settings on my phone, and it says scanning, and it's searching for that access point right there. Then I just click on it, I say connect, and it's connected. Now you need to go to the Play Store and download Canon Camera Window, which when you open it up looks like that. Camera Window, it's a free application. Now here you can see it's connecting to my phone, and this is really very awesome. Now why I love this is here we've got all those burst mode images. Here's all the videos and the pictures I've taken. It's on this card. Now when I used the SX50, I used an iFi card that you can also shoot wirelessly with. So if you've got an older camera, you're not going to upgrade to this one, you can also look at this video on Digital Photography Today that shows people how to shoot wirelessly with an iFi card. I also use that card on my SLR camera if I want to shoot Wi-Fi, because my SLR camera does not have Wi-Fi like the SX60 does. So yeah, I can access all the pictures, but I'm accessing it from the card that's on the camera. The nice thing is it saves me space. So on the iFi card I normally used on the SX50, it transferred all the pictures from the card that's in the camera, it transferred them onto the phone, so it takes up a lot of space. The nice thing is I keep everything on here. If I want to open that picture, I just click on it, it reads the picture, and there I've got the shot. Now I can go here and say, right, share it or save it. So I only save the pictures I really want. And then, very nice, if you go back, you've also got remote shooting. So if you click on remote shooting, you'll notice the lens will start to zoom out. So here I can see what my camera is seeing. So if I, for instance, put my hand in front of the camera, you can see my hand moving on my phone as well. This is really awesome. So I can also zoom. Look at the background here on my cell phone screen. If I'm zooming here, you can actually see me moving there, and the lens is also moving on the front of the camera. And then when you want to take a shot, say for instance, I want to take that shot right there. It's now just pointing at the background I've got in the studio here. If I press the button, you could hear it took the shot. And if I click there, there's the picture I just took by using the remote shooting functions. So this is really cool, and this is all being done wirelessly with the built-in Wi-Fi in the camera. I really, really like this, especially that I can use the software here to only take the pictures off the camera that I want to take off the camera. The rest I don't worry about. I can keep it on here, and it saves me space on my phone. I love that. On the other side of the camera, we've got the mic port right here that allows us to plug in an external microphone, and then also the zoom framing assist that I love to use, this icon right here on the SX50. The nice thing about that is if you're zooming and you're zooming in very far, the slightest movement on the camera and you've completely lost where you were. So if you're tracking someone, you're taking a picture of someone or maybe a bird in flight, then you don't know where the bird is. You just press this button, it quickly zooms back, allowing you to frame the shot again, and you let go of the button, it zooms back in. You can also go into the menu and say exactly for the camera how far it needs to zoom back when you press that button. So this is a really very handy button right there. When we look at the top side of the camera, we can see at the top we've got our hot shoe. This allows you to attach an external flash like your Canon Speedlight. You can also put a transmitter in here. This will allow you to take the flash off the camera, move it around, and that's called off-camera flash. You've also got your pop-up flash right here at the top. And then here you've got your zooming in and out, as well as your shutter button to take your pictures. Now this S, that's for shortcut, was at the back of the camera right here. They've moved it to the front. That was on the SX50. So this allows you to allocate a shortcut to that button. So maybe you want to change a specific function on the camera, you can allocate that function to this button. It allows you quick access to that function. You've got your on and off button right here. And then this button is very important. This is the button I've been changing during the video to adjust the settings like the shutter and the aperture and the ISO and stuff like that. Now, normally you'll have the same button on your SLR camera at the top. Usually Canon put this button at the back on these Powershot models, like on the SX50. This button was here at the back and you had to turn it right here. I really enjoy that they put it here. It makes it much easier. It's better on the hand if you're using the camera like this. You take the picture, you're gripping it nicely, and then it's very easy to just do this compared to taking your thumb and moving it here. You do lose a little bit of the grip on the camera, so I'm glad they put that there. Then this button here is the heart of the camera almost, because here you'll do a lot of adjusting. For instance, normally people will start there on auto. That is the terriblest mode you can start with. You learn to work with program at first. Now program is the better auto. That's what P stands for, program. So if you look at this video on Digital Photography Today, it's the first episode of the first season and it's called Program the Better Auto. Have a look at that video. It will change your world when you start with a camera like this. You'll learn how to take better pictures immediately. The next option there that says TV is for time value. That's when you set your shutter speed, and when you do that, the camera will automatically set the aperture for you. And I'll also explain that in this video. We go in depth on how to use the TV mode on this camera, because there are some pitfalls you need to know about, otherwise you're going to have problems using this. Then you've got AV, that stands for aperture value. That is when you choose the aperture, which is the lens opening, and then the camera decides what the shutter speed needs to be. And also if you watch this video, you'll learn how to properly use the aperture function, the AV function on this camera. And then the big one, manual exposure. This is where you set everything on the camera, the shutter, the aperture, the ISO, and all the other settings which you'd like to set, but those are the three important ones. The exposure triangle. You can watch this video, which is already in season 2, so you actually need to start from the beginning, but if you want to watch this video, it's fine. This video will tell you how to use the big one, manual exposure, on a Powershot camera like this. You've also got C1, C2, that's custom. If you want to have custom settings, you can apply it to those two. And you've also got like your scene modes, your sport, but I don't really use those because the scene modes are basically the same as using auto. You're just telling the camera, do a better sport auto photo for me, or do a better portrait auto for me. It's still auto. So it'll be a lot more beneficial for you to start with program and in the end become the master of your camera. The only other mode I really actually use is this video function, because this is the mode you set it to if you want to work with the manual video or you want to do the slow motion video. Otherwise, most of the time I'll be either on program, TV, AV, or manual. Program is usually just the mode I put a camera in. If there's friends at the house, I'll tell them, if you want to take pictures, go happy snappy, I've set up everything for you. If I want to be creative, then I go to manual, AV or TV, but otherwise program will do just fine. And that is all for the top side of this camera. Okay, that's all for this review on the Canon Powershot SX60HS. And I think this is really a very good upgrade to the camera. The little bit of image quality loss that we get between the 50 and the 60, not that great, but like I said, look at the bigger picture. If you're really going to print that onto like an A4, you're really going to have to look for the difference. If you print it much larger, you're most probably going to go to canvas. Canvas has got a texture to it. You're not going to notice it anyway. So when I look at the rest of the improvements, when it comes to just the build quality, the larger screen, much higher resolution screen, the better quality EVF they put in there, the external mic support, the other enhancements, especially to video, then and the focusing as well, then it's a good upgrade for me. So also download those sample images, go look for yourself. Link is on the screen as well as in the video description. Go look for yourself, go to 100% 1-to-1 ratio, compare the images and decide, is this the camera for you? Then if you have enjoyed this video and you have watched some of those DPT episodes, the Digital Photography Today on YouTube, then what are you waiting for? Click that subscribe button and get all my awesome episodes as they come out. And then I will see you soon in another video. Bye.